welcome to Wellness with Purpose.
We did a survey of over 600 patients that were in Detox, which is that first week of treatment, and applied what I call a music medicine pill, which is a mood sequence formula utilizing a variety of music styles in one condensed playlist. And I guided them through this meditation, which allowed them to exercise all of their broad emotional landscape. And the results were 94% experienced improvement in emotional intelligence, 91% experienced improvement in mood state after just 30 minutes of listening to the exact same music medicine pill, which is a prescriptive playlist.
Most people think that they already know what music does for them. It pumps them, calms them down, take them back to the memories. Judith Pinkerton has spent 35 years proving that's the surface of something far deeper. She is a licensed music therapist, the founder of Music for Life, and the architect of a protocol that has helped over 60,000 people, including veteran, addiction survivor, and the grieving families. They uses music not as a vibe, but as a medicine. Judith, welcome to Wellness with Purpose.
I am so happy to share time with you today, Queenal. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. So, Judith, I want to start with, take me back to 1991. What made you believe music could be the medicines before that was even a mainstream idea?
You know, it's interesting because the music therapy profession has been around since World War II. It's had its own longevity, but as far as becoming mainstream in 1991 is when there was major U.S. government notification about the effect of music therapy with the Older Americans Act that was amended to include like $1 million in music therapy studies. That was back in 1991. So at the same time that was happening, I was getting introduced to the profession of music therapy because I'd had a prior experience in a hospital where my solo violin music recorded on an audio cassette tape at the time. I had actually replaced post-surgical high blood pressure medication for a patient after emergency back surgery. And when that occurred, I was like, what? I want to do that for the rest of my life. Prior to that, I had a talent agency and a music conservatory, and I was very industrious in Anchorage, Alaska. And that experience in the hospital, just how can you do music for healing? And then I moved to Las Vegas, quite different from Anchorage, Alaska, bumped into music therapy and found out that there was indeed a profession that had been doing this for several decades. And so I tapped into leadership and many music therapists and found that that was my community that I wanted to stay in for the rest of my life.
Wonderful. 35 years is a long time to hold a conviction. That, of course, that takes more than a passion. What was the moment in your clinical work where you thought that this is just not a therapy and this is something we don't have a language for yet?
Well, people were being sent to me to experience what I was creating and finding out before I actually even got board certified. And so it was through their experiences and actually writing a book back in 1996 that was featured in Billboard magazine, as a matter of fact, but then saying, man, this book could dispel a bad mood. And so that was my introduction to people desiring music that went deeper. And the beauty of this protocol is that it addresses all genres. So I was coming from a space of a classical violinist. When I moved to Vegas, I shifted into playing a variety of styles, playing as a professional violinist on the Las Vegas Strip with dozens and dozens of major entertainers. And so I started really expanding my interest and desire to learn about other music styles. When I had my talent agency, I found that just booking my classical trio was going to sink the ship. So I broadened it to be booking country bands and rock bands and comedians and all other genres as well. And so I started realizing the value other genres and not just classical music, and included this in this protocol that I was developing and discovered it was a way for people to get validated with their music of choice. And as I moved into working with people with addictions, I discovered that there is indeed a deeper need for addressing music preferences and how those music preferences may be keeping you trapped in certain states of emotions, not necessarily just unsettled. It could be other moods as well. So that's been my journey in a nutshell of how I jumped into it. What was the pivot point was people coming back to me saying, wow, I want this and I'm bringing a friend. And I also got it, I want this and I'm bringing a friend. And I also got it accredited by the Nevada State Nursing Board for a continuing education program. And so that has been going on for 35 years. And so it's been interesting interacting with the medical profession as well in utilizing music. So we know that music therapists don't own music. However, the methods and the interventions that music therapists are trained and intuitively guided through the training to apply with a variety of patients, literally from cradle to grave, makes it unique in the profession of music therapy. And so when you have mental health providers, for instance, that are like, oh yeah, I use music. Like, really? How do you use music? Because music can keep someone trapped in their emotions if you do not know what you're doing. And so it's really best to consult with the music therapist to go deeper.
Wonderful. It's really interesting to know that music can trap your emotions if you're listening to the same kind of music again and again. And you even do that without even knowing it. And you also talk about that using your protocol through personal. So what was it like to be the patient in the system you are building?
What was it like to be the patient in the system I was building?
Yeah.
For instance, I would have patients enter the addiction treatment center. They're in detox. They have freshly stopped using their drug of choice, alcohol of choice, and they're very unsettled and they're not feeling good and they're having withdrawals and they see me within their first week. We did a survey of over 600 patients that were in detox, which is that first week of treatment, and applied what I call a music medicine pill, which is a mood sequence formula utilizing a variety of music styles in one condensed playlist. And I guided them through this meditation, which allowed them to exercise all of their broad emotional landscape. And the results were 94% experienced improvement in emotional intelligence, 91% experienced improvement in mood state after just 30 minutes of listening to the exact same music medicine pill, which is a prescriptive playlist. So it's understanding, how do you apply music so that you're validating your experience and then shifting away from it and out of it so that it becomes neutralized, so that you can go much deeper to touch your spirit, to get reconnected to who you really are, and then shift into a positive mindset that reinforces that connection.
Beautiful. Since you are building this early, I just wanted to talk about it. What did the early stages of trying this so that people can take seriously actually felt like?
So I've done a lot of education programs and would do demonstrations. It's always amazing the responses that come back because everybody has their connection to music and what they think works for them. So what people will get out of the training may be different from the person sitting next to them because they could be claiming, oh, well, I knew about that, but I didn't know about that part. And so this sharing of ideas and music preferences actually builds a greater empathy for each other. And they come away actually with new friendships because they're discovering that somebody that might have a music style that's not one that they would necessarily listen to, when they find out the backstory of why they prefer the style, what's going on for a particular, it's amazing how it builds empathy and relationship connection.
Right, because essentially you are asking people to believe something even the science has not caught up, and that is what you are seeing. You're already seeing it. So let's talk about your work and why it's different. Why do you think it's different? When someone hears music therapy, they think it's a hospital or maybe hard. So what is the music medicine protocol actually doing that the traditional therapy is not?
It works with emotional states and creates a catharsis where you're able to release deep unsettledness that might be repressed and actually feel better. The protocol is so successful that we have influenced the use of medication. Now, to qualify that, the use of medication means that we may influence it being prescribed, that somebody is finally cooperative in realizing that they have a chemical imbalance and that they do need the medication. And so they go on medication. Or they may find that the music medicine playlist has influenced their mood states such that they no longer need the medication. So we have a published study that reports that a veteran with PTSD, after 2 months, had her, by her physician, had her pain medication, her anxiety medication, and her depression medication stop as a result of prescriptive playlist. And of course, medication may be reduced. So there have been many experiences, clinical evidence that shows how this protocol influences the use of medication.
So yeah, of course, it's not about the relaxation, it's about the precisions you're talking about. What do you mean when you say like music reaches places where the words and medications alone cannot?
So music as mechanical energy enters our ears and converts immediately in the basal membrane to electrochemical energies. And from there enters a brainstem and then affects all areas of the brain. So it has whole brain effect. It activates the central nervous system. So you have neurotransmitters that are being triggered. So you have endorphins, the pain relievers, you have all sorts of other activators within our system so that music truly affects behavior, affects emotions, and affects physiology.
I want to sit with that because that's not a small slate. Like it's that a challenging entire model of how we're treating the mental health in our country. So would you like to walk me through what, as you said, that it's a music medicine pill actually is?
The pill is a special formulation. It's based on the mood sequence formula. The mood sequence formula requires that 3 specialized playlists are created. And that is where the challenge is creating playlists with appropriate music in each of the playlists. So the first challenge for people that enter and want to understand this protocol is that the 3 playlists address your broad emotional range. It's recognizing that anger, anxiety, depression, sadness are a biological part of us, as well as being relaxed, content, tranquil, and moving into those more happy, energized emotions like happiness, joyfulness, enthusiasm, optimism. All of these emotions that I've discussed are part of our broad emotional landscape, and they are a biological part of us. And it's important that the music that you are resonating with is helping you to exercise those emotions in a way that they are expressed in a healthy way. So developing a playlist that has unsettled music, developing a playlist that has soothing music, developing a playlist that has energizing music is going to be the crux of it. Now, our app called Key to Me, KEY, the number 2, MEE, is available right now on Apple and Google Play. When you open it, when you register and open it up, it will steer you to the emotional profile quiz, which is discerning what your mood states are to discover and report results that might indicate that your music listening or music performance habits are keeping you trapped in a chronic comfort zone.
I would ask explore that.
Right. So it's understanding, okay, so what is my emotional shape and what is it saying about me? So the app allows you to understand that. And then there's a lot of links to understand more and to access some of our playlists to help you feel better. We are right now developing version 2.0, which will support you creating these playlists of unsettled, soothed, and energized. The challenge is that if you are trapped in a chronic comfort zone, you are going to assign music to the wrong playlist. If you do that, you're going to stay trapped in those chronic comfort zones and you're not going to escape. So people will say that they're...
I would like to ask, what do you mean by that? I mean, they stay ahead in the same trap. What do you mean by that?
So for instance, say that, are you familiar with EDM, electronic dance music?
Yes. Yeah.
So I'm just going to quiz you. Where do you think EDM, electronic dance music, would fit in the USE playlist, unsettled playlist, soothe playlist, or energized playlist?
Energized playlist.
So that's the challenge. A lot of EDM, our trainings help you to dissect music elements and understand. A lot of EDM, our trainings help you to dissect music elements and understand layers. So in EDM, the bed usually of EDM is more fast-paced, and then on top of it is this soothing layer. And what it does is it like contains anxiety. It matches that anxiety of, oh, no, this nervousness, right? Of something's going to go wrong. So that fast-paced bed of EDM contains and matches the anxiety, while the soothing music seeks to calm you down while the anxiety is contained. That does not effectively reduce anxiety. And people may put EDM in energizing when actually it may not belong in any playlist because of the layers of music that it has. So in fusing music, the music and the lyric, first of all, have to match. So the energy of the music has to match the energy of the lyric. So for instance, if it's happy, energizing music, not like how I just described generally what you find in EDM, if there are lyrics, the lyric have to be positive and happy, nothing negative. And that would go in the energizing part. So people have challenges with finding that or noticing if the beat is correct. So there's a lot of also information about rhythms and beats and what to pay attention to. In the soothing category, not listening to a beat, not listening to words is optimal because a beat makes you want to move and words make you want to think. The soothing playlist doesn't say that you can't have a beat or words, but it's very specific about what kinds of soothing music to look for. So this is how our app is going to guide people into categorizing music correctly. Then you've got the unsettled playlist, and people who are trapped in anger may find that the music that they're choosing to listen to, they would categorize in the energizing category because they're misinterpreting their energy, not as anger, but as energizing. And so then they're putting the music and flashing that anger into energizing playlist where it does not belong. And if it's making them feel like happy and yes, this makes me feel alive, then we have to find other music that might match an anger state for them. So it gets very complex.
So much to learn, and we said that the music is the easiest thing we can have.
Yeah. So we start off with music that is preferred, and we move into, we have quite a catalog of music as apply as medicine.
First, I mean, we think like just put on your favorite playlist, but what you are describing is like there has to be like specific, what do you say, sequence, duration, and of course, which emotional state you are. Okay, so
Yeah. Go ahead.
no, you're saying something now.
Well, just the protocol helps you build emotional awareness. So we also have a 30-day curriculum called 6 Habits of Music Medicine for Highly Empowered People. And it identifies 6 common habits of how you listen to music or perform music and 6 empowering processes that we transform through 30 therapeutic activity. And through that, you build your emotional awareness so that standing, well, what am I feeling? There's so much music out today, unsettled lyric with happy music, with the singer-songwriter probably thinking, we're going to talk about some really difficult topics here, but I want you to feel good about addressing those. Well, what that actually sets up is confusion. It's like, I'm not happy about that, internally, subliminally. And so we find that there is a lot of music out there that is that. And the lyric do not match the energy of the music.
You are already talking about, but I want to ask question like, what is the biggest misconceptions people have about like which genre of music can actually do the work?
There's a large movement of I only want to listen to positive music. I don't want to listen to anything that's going to take me in a different direction. And what that actually does is set them up for repressing unsettledness that could have them trapped in a chronic, unenergized comfort zone where they seek to be happy all the time, but because they're not addressing their broad emotional landscape that are biological parts of us, the anger, the anxiety, the depression, the sadness that can occur from any situation gets repressed. I'm not going there. I'm just going to listen to this happy music over here. So what happens with this prescriptive technique is that you're able to elicit and express out these unsettled emotions so that they're not repressed, they're not trapped, and you can truly feel relaxed and happy and embrace and empathize with those that are choosing a variety of different styles that you may not prefer, because now you're aware of why they're resonating with those styles, and you can have more effective conversations with other people about listening choices. And rather than saying, why are you listening to that crap?
I love that.
Instead, it cuts the conversation immediately. You learn from our trainings how to have a different conversation so that you're making people aware of what they may not be aware of. And there are choices out there that can affect behavior, can affect physiology, can affect emotions.
I love that because there is always an assumption that calm music calms you, but that's not how the protocol works at all. Cause so let's talk.
Sorry, Queen. So when people will say, "Yep, I got to have my calming music on," so that's another chronic comfort zone is soup. I need to always be calm. Don't you dare, bring up this or that. I just need. So then what they do is they'll play binaural beats or they'll play, soothing music 24/7 to keep them in that state. And if they don't listen to it, then the racing thoughts come back or the anger comes up or something will really trigger them, So that is not a healthy music listening habit. When you apply a prescriptive technique, you're actually not having to listen to music 24/7. You actually reduce your consumption because you're being very intentional and purposeful about what and how and when and where you listen to music so that in as little as 15 minutes, you have completely shifted yourself from deep anxiety, anger, depression, or sadness into a release that feels so deeply connecting to your spirit and building that positive mindset.
So much awareness to bring. Wow. Even I still feel that you just turn on the music and it'll change your mood. But I think we listen to music according to our mood. If we are happy, we just play the happy music. If we are sad, we'll just play the sad. And we are not getting out of that state because that's really interesting. I would really take a quiz from your app.
I mean, nothing is 100%. Everything is subjective, right? So it's not necessarily that listening to binaural beats is going to alert me, that you got a problem. It's your daily experience that might be repetitive that you need to be aware of. So as I said, we have curriculum, we have trainings that build your awareness of, well, what am I doing that might be different than what is being recommended? And I will guarantee everyone that dives into what we provide, that they will find some nugget that they had no clue about.
So let's talk about the challenges. So what is the hardest part of building a company like this and around which is very evidence-based, and now the world is just prescribing the pills first and asking the question later. So what is the hardest part?
Rising above the noise. There's a lot of noise now about, music and how to use it and apps that are coming out. I view Music for Life as the umbrella of all sound, that once you understand the life skills that you learn through what we provide, that you can look at all apps, all music, anything that deals with sound, and now have the life skill knowing how to utilize it best for your own well-being, as opposed to, man, I got to go do that sound bath tonight. If I don't do that sound bath tonight, tomorrow's not going to be a good day. I mean, that could be a good intention and a good purpose, but this arms you with why you're doing it, when you need to do it, what's going to happen as a result of that, and what else can I do? And if it doesn't work, what's the problem and how can I fix that?
You're fighting the system and the skepticism of people.
Yeah, again, it's like, I know what I know, so I don't think I need to take your trainings or learn anymore because I'm already, fine.
Coming to that, this is going to be my next questions. Of course, you said that I don't want to know, but if someone who is genuinely in crisis, and how do you get them to trust that a playlist can help them?
It's arming mental health providers with the information. 1.2 million licensed mental health providers in the United States that have a caseload of 55 million patients. It's overwhelming what they have. And so we're arming mental health providers with these trainings so that they know how to utilize the app, how to utilize music very specifically to disrupt this mental health crisis.
And so you already have a case studies and testimonials to show around that what actually music can do for the people in the crisis. Testimonials to show around that what actually music can do for the people in the crisis. Okay. And what have you tried to grow Music for Life that just hasn't moved the needle the way you hope?
Well, we're a forerunner, in our profession. 10 years ago, when I developed the new company to exclusively distribute all of my intellectual property, curriculum trainings, all that. There was no identified music therapy industry. Since then, they've identified the music therapy industry as being a $4.62 billion industry destined to double in size by 2030. And so all of a sudden, there's strong interest in music therapy. Being a forerunner, there is nobody else for me to follow. I am developing the path for others to follow. So for instance, we have a major health insurance provider that has come to us and said, I am a customer of the app. Get that app done now. I need it for my members. So I don't know of any other app that addresses mental health and will have the success that we have had over the decades in supporting people feeling better, truly.
So what's the hard part? I just wanted to understand.
The hard part is, getting version 2.0 built. So we are part of a venture capital fund, and I'm happy to say that the deposits have started. We've launched into developing version 2.0. So we're just working as fast as we can right now. We've got AI in place and growing that to streamline how we do business. I have a fabulous core team. We'll be hiring a couple more people as we continue to scale. So it's being real selective in building the team so that I don't have a lot of people like me on the team. Like people that are not like me on the team. So I'm happy to say that my COO is a retired military officer who's also a psychologist and just loves the protocol. We've been aware and connecting with each other for a couple decades. And so I'm happy that Dr. Kevin McCall is COO. And then we have our CTO who actually has been in this business before iTunes was created. He had a company that was selling tunes on the internet before iTunes was created. So Rick is my CTO. He has his team of developers, and he's actually my co-author on the patent. So the app it's got a patent. Just moving as quick as we can, developing it and scaling it, training music therapists in the protocol because there'll be a telehealth portion to it so that when people start struggling with assigning music to the wrong playlist, they have a music therapist that they can dialogue with on telehealth in order to get back on track with understanding how to actually implement the protocol successfully with the app.
Wow, so many moving pieces. Say. So my next question would be, what eats most of your time right now that you wish you could hand off or solve?
Marketing.
What part of marketing? Like what part of marketing?
Everything. Everything. That will be the next person that we hire, actually, a client relations coordinator, and underneath them, a social media management. I have utilized social media management in the past, but it's a real careful progression of, what we need to focus on next before we really start hyping.
A year from now, what does success actually look like for Music for Life?
The app will be fully engaged through a health insurance provider to up to 200,000 members. We will have quite a full network of music therapists trained and successfully supporting people through the app. And we'll have significant stories about how effective this app is in helping people disrupt the mental health crisis.
That's a very clear picture. It's like you are reading through it. So Judith, you know that this is coming. So let's talk about where are you actually at AI right now inside the Music for Life?
I utilize it for keeping content. I tend to go to it when I need help putting something together quickly. And so I don't trust it with research at all. It messes up the research citations. Don't ever trust it with research at the time. But as far as just putting ideas together, my platform knows me. So being able to use a platform that recognizes your voice, recognizes your brand, recognizes the protocol. All I have to do is type in a little bit to output something that I need to utilize either in marketing or content creation that has a different perspective from a different population or different topic.
Okay. So are your team is using an AI or you are just using for your own research, the content purposes and
Right. And so our CTO, that's a good question. I'm not sure what he's using with the development team with AI. I can't answer that.
that's fine. It's not right.
Stay out of his wheel well.
But I think that you are progressive. I see that you are progressive and you are looking towards AI to, of course, offload some of your work, as you say, marketing. My last question would be, what next for Music for Life, and how can the people listening right now support it?
Well, I would suggest that you go to our website. It's simply the HE music and USIC, the number 4 life, life.com, themusicforlife.com, and explore. There's so much information and content through that website that takes you to our learning platforms, our continuing education platform. So there's just a lot of information to digest there. We also have, if you'd like, I can share a quiz that we have. You can find out what your music personality is, and you get more information about what to once you get your 2-page explanation about what your music personality is. And this is based, it wasn't just something I created out of thin air. I utilized 5 or 6 research studies to put together this quiz. And so it's very unique to Music for Life, and it's free. You know who you are and find out your strengths and all of this through what your music listening habits are.
So everyone who is listening, go do all that right after this episode, and we'll make sure all the links are easy to find. So Judith had spent 35 years doing something most of us do on autopilot every day, like listening to music. And she turned into a evidence-based system for healing that has reached over 60,000 people. That number is not an accident. It's a calling built into a protocol, built into a company. And if this conversation moved you, share this episode with someone who needs it, and go check out at Key to Me, MEE app at themusicforlife.com. And we'll see you in the next episode. Thank you, Judith. Thank you so much, Paul.
Blessings.